Hey everybody! Welcome to the Turtle and the Bear podcast. I'm Turtle.
And I'm Bear, and today we're talking about growing up with undiagnosed ADHD. So what is ADHD, you may ask, if you don't know? It stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. It's one of the most common mental health disorders affecting children and adults. Symptoms often include inattention, so not being able to focus, hyperactivity, which is an excessive movement that is not fitted to a setting, and impulsivity, which is hastily acting in the moment or without thought. But women exhibit different symptoms, which include.
So these symptoms are often depression, anxiety, sleep disorders, eating disorders, substance abuse, and low self-esteem.
Which makes so much sense for both of us. Women's ADHD wasn't studied until 30 years after male ADHD. They didn't think women could get it, I guess. It was first studied in the 70s, and then 30 years later, or 20 to 30 years later, because it started being studied in the 90s, it got its own independent study in 2002. And then they didn't really start making major breakthroughs on women's ADHD until recently, until the last decade, which is astonishing.
It is, but
science
a lot of
easy.
things to do with women's health is only now starting to come.
Women's health is
light.
not very often talked about, but we're gonna, rip that Band-Aid off pretty quick.
It's getting ripped off by.
So, growing up with undiagnosed ADHD, meaning you haven't been to a doctor, you're not on medication.
Yeah.
What was that like for you in school?
Well, I would daydream a lot, and
Yeah.
I would kind of just space out.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I wouldn't even be daydreaming. I would just be staring, which I now know is dissociating.
So there's a difference between disassociating and zoning out.
Yeah.
Zoning out, you can come back like that.
Yeah.
Disassociating, you kind of are on autopilot.
Yeah.
Which is another symptom of ADHD.
Yeah.
But zoning out is closer to daydreaming.
Kind of.
I do both, personally.
Yeah. No,
Did you struggle with dyslexia? Because I personally did.
I did. I remember
I still do.
Math is still a problem for me. Numbers, I'll be looking at numbers, or especially when I was doing chemistry, I would be doing an equation and I would move a decimal point, and then I would be doing the math correctly.
The numbers just wouldn't line up.
Well, I moved a decimal point.
Exactly.
So that would mess up the entire
and in chemistry,
answer.
You can do something and that makes it go boom.
It wasn't. Thankfully, it was never on an actual experiment.
Can you imagine that?
That would be bad. It would be so bad. It was only ever on like homework, or if we were doing an example question, and then my teacher would go, "You moved the decimal point."
Yeah.
And again, same in math, because similar things. I somehow have all three sciences to the highest level in high school. I don't know. And I did technically pass them, but I didn't do great.
Not well.
No, biology was always my best one, because there's very minimal math in it.
It's more of a understanding of your person and your life and
the surroundings,
physical things, not numbers.
I always find biology fascinating. But what about you?
I struggled with focusing more than anything. I remember specifically in band, if our teacher got talking, I would be like looking up at the roof, counting the tiles. I would still be listening to her.
I remember doing that too.
But I wouldn't be able to focus. And if you go on with a lecture for more than 20 minutes, 20 minutes is my tap. It's going in one ear, out the other.
Yeah.
I will be actively listening, but it's not going to be registering. And that, unfortunately, affected my grade more often than not, because classes go for 45 minutes in high school.
Yeah.
At least 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So that was my struggle. But where I excelled is all the artsy stuff because I was able to hyperfixate, which we will get into talking about what that is.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to hyperfixate on my art stuff, but I also didn't have to do it for so long. I could do it for 20 minutes and take a break. My teacher wouldn't be fine, like would be fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
And dance was another one for me that I really loved because it got the dopamine flowing. It got your body moving.
Yeah.
You had to focus, but you didn't at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
which was greatly beneficial for me. I personally being I'm a Pisces, so I'm very artistic.
Mm-hmm.
Artistic. Um sorry. I make that joke because Turtle is autistic.
I am. I was recently diagnosed, so we'll talk about that in a later episode.
Yeah, that's a later episode topic. So that is where I excelled and struggled in school. I definitely struggled with dyslexia because I still do. I mix up my B's, my D's, my H's, my G's. It's a struggle, especially when I like to journal. And I'm slightly OCD, so if I mess up, I have to restart.
For me, I have troubles with spelling. I have improved because I play games on my phone that I have to spell. And I just try and get a little bit better. So I do journaling, and then that's also practice.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that. But I think with dyslexia, sometimes, I don't know if it's dyslexia, but I trip over my words and I switch words around sometimes.
So that is what happens when because your brain is working so fast with ADHD and
it's
your
like,
mouth cannot catch up.
Oh my god.
So you stumble over your words more often than normal people who are neurotypical. Because your brain is just like, and your mouth cannot physically keep up.
Yeah.
It gets even worse when you're excited.
Yeah. Ducky can kind of get like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Well, he's got ADHD.
He does. But for him, he'll have a really long pause. He'll start a sentence. So he'll go, so you know. And then there'll be a really long, there'll be this super long pause, and I'm sitting here going,
you know what?
And sometimes I go, what? And he goes, oh, sorry. His brain is just kind of like Windows 10.
Yeah, taking a minute.
What's your favorite ADHD tick?
I don't know if it's a tick specifically, but like I do really enjoy the fact that I can hyperfixate on my art. I enjoy hyperfixation, but that's just because it gives all the dopamine. Other than that, I don't really have any ADHD ticks per se. I make random noises. Like my favorite is.
Oh, I do that too.
I do that randomly. That's one of my main ticks that I do. But
yeah, I do the with the lips too, and then sometimes I'll just start singing like a random song. Or start making random noises like bing boo boo.
That's another thing that I really enjoy. There's always a song going on in my brain. Always.
When I found out, I was like,
normal people don't have that?
People don't have a soundtrack in their mind.
Right? It's weird to think that like when you're not thinking of something, it's just quiet in your brain.
Sometimes I'll be doing something and the Lion King, like, the first song of the first Lion King movie, it will come on and they'll just start jiving in my head, but there's no music.
Mine is I am slowly going crazy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, bitch.
That an actual song, or you're just making that up?
I don't know where I learned it, but it's an actual thing.
Okay.
I don't know where it came from. I just have always known it.
Well, I know for me, I like doing things with my hands. I think that's an ADHD thing.
If I do something with my hands, it's picking at my fingers.
Well, that's why I have this little bean bag that I got in the summertime to help with my hand injury, but it also is really nice to just squish and play with.
Oh, I guess I play with my rings. I've got 3 rings on one finger.
So I love to crochet
Mhm.
because then that keeps the hands busy.
Mm.
And I like coloring as well.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
I end up doom scrolling more often than not.
Yeah, totally. Doom scrolling 100%.
If I'm not keeping my hands busy, I end up doom scrolling and it's just hours go by.
So I know I had some difficulties making friends and keeping friends.
Yes. Yeah.
Apart from
See,
you.
I didn't have struggles making friends. It's the, oh, cool, you're giving me that little bit of dopamine that I like. But then that goes away. And then it's like, I can't make myself stay friends with you because I can't get the dopamine. And that sounds like a really shitty thing.
Yeah.
But I struggled with keeping friendships. Like I said in the previous podcast, I only have 2 friendships that I have that have been my whole life. And
I have a few more, but
it's just when I lose that dopamine fix, I struggle to keep in contact. Also, there's the out of sight, out of mind. So if I don't see you on a regular basis, I forget you're even alive. Which sounds terrible.
I do the same thing. So I've had to explain to some of my family members, it's not that I'm mad at you.
Yeah.
I kind of just forget you're there.
Yeah.
In my mind, logically, I know they're still there. But at that moment,
your brain doesn't actively
they're
think
not
about it.
there.
Yeah.
It's like, I know we have a car, but I don't see it.
Yes,
so
yes, that's true.
It's not here. So, but I know it exists.
So,
what about acting out? Did you act out because of ADHD?
Quite often. I guess it was kind of like acting out, but I didn't really act out in like throwing tantrums kind of way. It was more not being able to focus, and when I wasn't able to focus, I would get into trouble by doing other things. Doodling. Oh, doodling was my like fix for not,
Yeah. I would kind of have meltdowns because I would get overwhelmed and I wouldn't know how to express myself. I think mine is kind of due to the fact that I have both ADHD and I'm on the autism spectrum. So I wouldn't know how to express myself, and my parents weren't really patient enough to, I guess, explain it to me when I was younger. And of course, I'm young, so I don't know how to explain myself or express myself. So I would just start crying.
Yes, that I think leans more on the autistic scale.
I think so.
Because you weren't able to regulate your emotions like a normal person.
No, because that's a whole
your
other
family
thing.
wasn't able to understand that and account for it and react the way they should have, which is unfortunate. But you learned.
We can go into that.
You were just diagnosed recently, right?
Yeah, I was. So I'm learning a lot of new things.
It kind of opened up the window like, oh, this makes sense.
Well, I knew I had ADHD. I had a suspicion, but then my doctor gave me some surveys, I guess, and I did them, and she scored them, and then based off of the score, it came off that I have inattentive ADHD.
I have hyperactive.
Yeah.
So I have what would typically be what everybody thinks of as ADHD. Like I am very squirrel, shiny. I can't focus very often.
Both
I
types
always
of
am
ADHD
moving.
can be like that.
Yes.
But inattentive are more the space out. I kind of just
you can
in our heads
and zone out for hours.
Yes.
I cannot. I zone out, don't get me wrong. I do zone out, but it's more like 5 minutes. And then my brain's like, okay, we've got to be doing something.
Yeah. I remember being in elementary school, and they would have posters all over the walls. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And it would be so distracting. And or it'd be more entertaining than
I would
sitting
have
there
them...
and listening to my teacher talk. So I would look at everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember so many times my teachers would have at parent-teacher interview, my teachers would tell my mom, she's looking all over the place. And my mom would look around the classroom and she would go, yeah, have you seen the wall?
For parent-teacher interviews, I was always, she talks too much.
That was me
that was
on my
so
report
mean.
card. Loves to visit.
Yeah, loves to chat. Can do a little less chatting.
I did get better, obviously.
I got better because I became an introvert.
Yeah. Well, I think we're always an introvert, but when we're children, we don't really know
We're
what
more
that
taught
is.
to express and make friends and be out there because you're still growing and learning and becoming your person.
Yeah. For me, I remember in kindergarten, I went to a private kindergarten. So
Fancy.
including me, there was 10 people. It was run out of a community center. It wasn't anything fancy. It just wasn't in a public school.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, so there's only 10 students, including myself. So, and I joined after classes had already started because I was in another kindergarten class and my mom wasn't liking that teacher. So I was pulled out, and then very lucky that they had this space available. I was very shy. I've always been very shy.
Yeah, you always have been a pretty shy
person. I think I've always been an introvert.
Yeah.
Just because,
Yeah.
So
scary.
I was always very quiet in that class, and that continued. I opened up a little bit when I was in elementary school and
you found your people.
But I was still pretty quiet.
Yeah. I was an extrovert very majorly. I mean, I'm the one who came up to you, and we discussed that last episode.
Yeah.
But life kind of took me by the hoo-ha and was like, no, we don't like life, and we're going to close ourselves off. But ADHD has kind of helped me be not so much introvert. I'm an ambivert. And we'll talk about that later on an episode. I think a couple episodes ahead of us. And so I come off as an extrovert when I'm comfortable with you.
Yeah.
But if I don't know you, I'm completely shut off. But that's ADHD in me is also like overanalyzing.
Yeah.
And like, are they going to judge me? I don't know. And something we women, I don't know if men, because I can't personally say, women are very good at reading.
Yes.
That's why they're going to, and
that's why it went unstudied and undiagnosed for so many people.
Well, the symptoms are so different.
Because women with ADHD and autism, but in ADHD, they're very good at masking it.
Yes.
And acting like
everything's fine.
A quote unquote normal person.
We're very good at being able to mask and act like we are neurotypical.
Yes. But then another thing that we do for ADHD is we kind of create a personality for each person or friend group or family group. So
yeah, like with you, I am probably my closest to being myself.
Yeah.
When I'm with my immediate family, like not my mom and my boyfriend, but with like my grandparents, I'm more reserved and more, I want to say professional, but like not professional, but I'm not as unhinged, which I try not to have to mask around the people I am closest with because I want them to know who I really am.
Yeah.
But yes, there is, it's typical with people with have ADHD to have different personalities for a different friend group, for different friends. And my mom has personally seen it and was like, you're a completely different person with this friend. And I'm like, I don't feel like I can sense that I'm a different person. I can sense that I have a different attitude, but I don't I don't actively do
That's
it.
the scary part about ADHD. Sometimes we don't even realize we're doing it.
Yeah, but hindsight is 2020.
Yes, and like I realize now that I look back onto my childhood and growing up, I realized, oh, I kind of changed my personality if depending on if I was talking to my mom or my dad or my friends or my grandparents or my aunts and uncles.
Yeah.
So, and having that realization is kind of it's shocking a little bit.
But then you try and not do it,
and it's very difficult.
and that makes it struggle even more because you're like, oh, I'm acting weird. Act normal. What the heck is normal? Oh my god, I don't even know who I am. And then it goes down like a spiral.
That's kind of what I'm going through, and I kind of went through a bit of a phase a little bit.
I kind of did that when we started hanging out together because I started acting like my normal self before everything in my life happened, and I'm like, wait, who have I been for the last like 10 years?
Well, I think that's what happened with me too, because I'm honestly feeling more like myself. And Ducky has even said, it's so good that Bear is here.
Well, I bring out the sass in you, and I know I do. And it's something Ducky has said. It's like, why is she here? I regret having her here. I don't want her. You're being a sassy cabbage. And
he calls me cabbage when I'm being silly
bad.
or bad.
And it's the funniest thing ever. But I do know that I bring out your better personality, but you bring out my better personality too. It's
and
kind
I know you've said that even just being around me kind of
heals my inner child, but that's because you are definitely my best friend for life, BFFL. But I personally haven't been diagnosed. My mom says I was. I don't remember going to a doctor and getting diagnosed, but I've never been on medication. You are. How is that working for you?
I am on medication. So I've been on it for several months since April. And we started on the lowest dosage, and then I went back to my doctor and I said, I need a higher dosage. So we just went one up from the base one, and this seems to be working pretty good for me.
Yes, but you can definitely tell when it's wearing off at the end of the day. I've been here later at night, and you can see the chaos coming up. And it's so funny to watch.
It's entertaining.
It's like you drink without alcohol. Yeah, I get goofy when I get really tired. I think that's normal.
It is.
I don't know if it's normal for ADHD, but it's normal for us. I have tried cannabis because it's legal here. And that definitely made all the different voices and the background noises go shh. And I could actually think. And I got so much cleaning done that day. It was really weird.
ADHD, people with ADHD, when they take drugs, their brains, our brains, react differently as opposed to a person who doesn't have ADHD.
Same with caffeine.
Yes. Although I get a little jittery sometimes because I'm on medication.
That is true. I get shaky a little bit if I take too much caffeine.
Yeah. But I've read some stories online of this one person trying some other substances and
substances that might not be legal.
Yes. None that I would try, but they tried it. I don't know this person. As an experiment, as some people do. And they said, I felt so calm.
Well, I heard that if a person that has ADHD takes that white powder stuff for your nose, because I don't want to get demonetized, they have a complete opposite reaction, whereas normal people will be like, oh my god, what are we doing, blah, 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 running 1,000 miles a minute.
I'm a squirrel.
Basically what normal ADHD people are. So when we take it, it's the complete opposite effect. We mellow out. And I read a story about somebody who did that. They had ADHD and the other people were like all crazy, and the guy's like, guys, I feel normal. There's no background noise. Is this what you guys always feel like? And so basically it's like complete opposite flips for most, I can't say all substances, but most substances. And so I personally thought about getting like the CBD tablets as something to keep my background noise at a minimum and I can get stuff done.
Yeah.
But then again, I wouldn't feel like myself.
Yeah.
Because I've gone 26 years of having that background monologue, that background dialogue, that background everything. I would feel weird.
Yeah. Well, I know when I started taking the medication, all medications usually take 2 weeks
2 to 3, yeah.
even start working,
Mm-hmm.
and then it takes an additional month
Mm-hmm.
to even really start noticing differences.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a little weird, and sometimes it's a bit weird for me
Mm-hmm.
in my mind.
My little brother was diagnosed at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
And he did take medication. He's like, I did not like the way it feels. So I think that kind of put me off
Mm-hmm.
of medication, because I'm like, I don't want to feel not like myself.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something I have been dabbling with because I do struggle with ADHD paralysis.
Paralysis, yes.
But that's a different topic for another time.
Thank you so much for joining us. And we might have to do a part 2 of this
We definitely
video.
will have to do a part 2. I think next episode is going to be talking about what changed after we were diagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk more about this.
Yes.
We have Facebook, and all our social medias are linked on there. It's the Turtle and the Bear podcast. You can listen to us on Spotify and YouTube. And thank you for tuning in for this episode.
And please subscribe
Yes.
wherever you are.
Comment,
Thank you
like,
so
do all the
much.
things.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.